Hi guys, welcome to my podcast. My name is Nicole and I am the brains and the beauty behind Yarncraft by Nicole. So first of all, I want to say that I know it's been 2 weeks since I've had an official podcast episode with the amount of traveling that me and my husband are doing this summer. Some of these are going to be a little sporadic. I'm going to try to record a couple ahead of time if I know that we're leaving on a weekend, but it feels good to come back, and I will tell you that I've got lots of fun things to show you. First of which is this beautiful cowl that I have on today. This is a pattern that I released today, and it is on Etsy and Ravelry. It is called the Colosseum Cowl because it's the Colosseum. Like, I just have to take this off to show it to you. This is an idea that has been floating around in my head for a while because I thought that it was kind of the perfect marriage of form and function, in the fact that the Colosseum is round like a cow, and I absolutely love it. Originally, I was thinking that this was going to be a bigger project than it was, but it's a one skein wonder, which is awesome. These wonderful arches at the bottom end up not taking as much yardage, and so I did this all with one skein of DK weight cotton. I bought this from Terrapin Fiberworks. She's awesome. She's actually, we'll talk about her a little bit more later, but she's a great yarn dyer that dyes cotton and tinsel, and I absolutely love it. Like, it's lightweight and it holds the shape really well, the way that I expected a cotton would, and it's got these little flecks. I'll show you closer. Yeah, it's got these little flecks of kind of a rust, more of a mahogany brown, a little bit of orange, and it's absolutely perfect for this project. And she also, I'll just go on a little rampage about her, a little tirade about Terrapin Fiberworks. She also did this collection over the summer where it was inspired by farmers market, so they're inspired by foods, these different colorways, and she's got one that's inspired by sourdough bread and another one that is olive oil, and just like, they are spot on. So she's great. This was my first yarn purchase by her. I know her a little bit through Instagram, through some pattern tests, but she's great. And when I saw this one come up, I was like, yep, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. And I have 2 more skeins of this because I wasn't sure exactly how big I wanted this cowl to be. And so I have to decide what I'm going to do with these other ones because it's perfect. So this is the first one. This is my feature make, Colosseum Cowl. It's on Ravelry. It's on Etsy. It's a one skein wonder. If you're a history nerd like me, you should check it out. And part of the traveling that me and my husband are doing this summer is that we're going to be going to Italy. So you know that this is going to come with me, and that you'll get to see some pictures on Insta me wearing this by the Roman Colosseum. So since I've been gone for a couple weeks, I have a lot of things to show you. And I guess we'll start with current whips because I've got a lot of really fun finish makes. One of which y'all haven't really seen in a little bit. I started this as my Yarn Love Challenge that TL Yarncrafts was doing on, you might see Scoot here in a second, that TL Yarncrafts was doing on Instagram, where you pick a project to try to get done in July, and there were a bunch of other prompts. It was a lot of fun. I had fun participating, but I definitely didn't finish my project in June. So I'm trying to finish it now. It's gorgeous. It is the Garden Party Shawl, and it uses this delightful kind of granny stitch stripe with some solid ones as well, and I love it. It's gonna be a big shawl, actually, kind of amended pattern a little bit and made a couple of these bigger sections a couple of rows shorter just because it's very big, but I am thrilled to pieces with it. I've got like one little more section of the hot pink, and then I've got the border that I'll do, and this kind of variegated, but I love it. I'm hoping to finish it this week, and it's beautiful. So much fun. The other thing that I've got going that I also hope to finish this week, honestly, I hope to finish it this weekend, within the next day or so, is that I have all of these delightful Amelia Quilt squares that I've been showing y'all, and I finally have enough to do the size blanket that I wanted. So this is the one I'm working on currently. Look at that. This is pretty like emerald green with almost this coppery color. I love this combination. That I should have 25 squares, so it'll be 5 by 5. And then I've got some black that I'll edge it all out with, but I've got this one and 2 more to make, and then I'm done with that, and very excited about that. It looks really good, kind of all spread out. The original Amelia Quilt is by Eclair Makery. I shrunk down the squares a little bit just to make the best use of the yarn scraps that I had. And her original pattern you can still get, I think it's a kit still from Lion Brand, but it makes like a 9 by 9 with a little bit bigger squares, or I'm sorry, 9 squares total, 3 by 3 with a little bit bigger squares. And it's just 2 colors that you alternate, like which one is the main one and which one is the accent. I'm having a lot of fun with doing all sorts of different colors. As you can tell, I like a scrappy project. But the design itself is also just very nostalgic. It has that heirloom quilt quality. So if you like seeing these squares, check out that. I'll put a description in the description about the Amelia Quilt from Eclair Makery. So those are the 2 like current projects. And so now I have the pleasure of showing you the finished objects. So this one is finished. I finished this one last week when we were in New York, but I wrote the pattern for it this week, so it feels very new. And I took all the pictures that I used in the pattern, like the finished pictures of it yesterday, which was a lot of fun. So this is one. The next, how many do I have? 2 are just, you're just not ready. Not ready. This one is from beautiful little, what is the word I'm looking for? Half moon crescent, that's the word I'm looking for. Crescent Shawl from Emily Davies. She's Hooked Hazel on Instagram. You can find her. It is another one skein wonder. And when I saw this pattern, I was like, oh, I need this. I know exactly what yarn I'm going to use for it. And what I like about this pattern so much, besides the fact that it is a crescent shape, which is a shape that I don't have a lot of shawls in, is that when you wrap it around the back of your neck the way that she had in her pictures, because it is a crescent shape shawl, it just has like this beautiful base framing effect, and it's just perfect. And it's a one skein wonder. So this is one skein of figuring weight yarn that I had. This yarn is from Dream in Color. I bought it when we were, just where's the rest of the thing? I bought it, Aspen was with me, so I guess we bought it at a local yarn store in New Orleans, and it's Mardi Gras colors. But what I really liked about this pattern and yarn combo is that you can tell, and this is the beautiful thing about hand-dyed yarn, is that they're all a little different. I say you can tell, you might not be able to tell on your end, but the middle part is actually a smidge lighter than the outside colors. So when I wound the hank of yarn into a yarn cake like this, I noticed that the inside looked a little bit lighter than the outside. So I wanted to start there and kind of work out. And I think that it's beautiful. And there's a couple of different ways, like we could just throw it on like that. And it's delightful. And it's a great summer project because it is easy to do in the car because there's just one skein. You don't have to worry about keeping up with like which colors should I add, how many did I need to cut here and there. It's small because it's a Shawlette, and it's lightweight, so you can throw it on over anything. In fact, probably tomorrow for tomorrow's Friday fit, I will be wearing this in some kind of a way, but it's beautiful. I will say for this little picot edge, Emily mentions this in the pattern, but she blocked it and she used straight pens to get the little picots to stand out, and I did the same thing and it worked perfectly. I actually kind of almost blocked it like a heart shape, so you can tell that this middle one kind of hangs down a little bit lower, and I love it. I think it's great. And I don't think I've told you the name of it. It's called the Meryton Shawlette. I will also put that in the description, but it's delightful. And it's perfect for that like super special one skein that you bought while traveling, or that you've held on for a really long time and you weren't sure what to do with. Maybe it has a lot of colors and you're not sure how that will interact with other things in your stash. Meryton Shawlette is perfect. And it's a Crescent Shawlette, so it's something that is a little bit different, and again, it has this beautiful face framing delightfulness on it. All right, this next finished object, I literally finished the bottom ribbing this morning. It was a project that once I started, I just could not put down because it was so exciting and fun. And it's one that I've had on my list for a while. So without further ado, I will show you my Confetti DK pullover. Guys, look at that fade. It's beautiful. So let me tell you a little bit about this. Y'all know I buy yarn when I'm traveling, and I've got some yarn to show you from when I was traveling last week. So this really pretty variegated orange that's right in here, I bought from Kansas City a while ago, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. It was in my stash for a while. I thought it could be a cool hat. It was an orangey color that I hadn't really been buying much of, so it was in my stash for a while. Then I was at my local yarn store, Spun, and I saw this beautiful inky blue at the top. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. I love it with this orange. And then I also bought this kind of yellowy green. It's called Lello from Paints House Company. I bought a couple skeins of that too. I was like, perfect, this will go well together. And then I went back to Spun, and they had this orange that matches it perfectly, and then more of the Lello that I bought. So I love it. It is so much fun to wear. I have not blocked it yet because, again, I just finished it this morning, but it is a linen stitch sweater, and then it has this beautiful fade pattern from one color to the other. This is from Nomad Stitches, Sandra Gutierrez, and she's fantastic. I bought her book, Colorful Crochet Knitwear. I'll put it in the description. But she's great. And what I love about this project, and I think that I'm going to do a whole little video about color, because I've gotten a lot of good feedback about color work recently that I've done. What I really like this is that it uses several different techniques or several different approaches to how to put colors together. For these two colors, it's high contrast. You're able to see that clearly. For the orange, which is right here, and the variegated orange, it just flows in seamlessly. And then for this green and the orange, like, even though these are not super similar colors, because they're saturated at about the same level, it fades in beautifully. So I love it. And I started with this darker blue at the top because I knew I only had one skein and I couldn't go back and get more, and I wanted to use it so that I could get the most bang for my buck, but also because I like this color next to my face. This color is very pretty, but I don't like it as much next to my face. I like the blue next to my face because it makes my hair stand out a little bit better, looks a little bit better with my eyes, which are super blue. So you might hear more about the sweater if I do a color, not even color theory, but like how I approach color video. Also, if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. And then just if you want to hear about anything, just let me know in the comments. So those are my finished objects. Very proud of them, especially the Colosseum Cowl. Let's just take another minute to appreciate that. It's just delightful, and it's the way I wanted it to be. And that doesn't always happen, and that doesn't often happen, that it just comes out the way it's supposed to. One of the other things that I wanted to do, and I'm gonna pop it back on even though I love this Meryton Shawlette, is that a good cowl, or at least cowls that I grab over and over again, have a subtle narrowing at the top so that it doesn't fold in on over itself. And I like the fact that I was able to do that with still keeping the integrity of the fact that it looks like the Colosseum when it's held flat, but if you're just wearing it, it just looks lacy and pretty. You should go get it. Colosseum Cowl. Okay, let's talk about yarn, because I love to talk about yarn. So, you know that when we travel, when me and my husband travel, that we look out for local yarn stores, and so I found two that I really liked in New York City, which is where we were last week. The first one, I had a lot of good suggestions on Instagram about a place that I should check out, and it was great. And that was Knitty City. It is more of the like Midtown Manhattan area, but it's this great little shop that is just stuffed to the gills with yarn and really incredibly knowledgeable staff, and they were wonderful. So when I was there, I got 2 skeins of this yarn by the dyer Hugh Made from New York City. She's great. Look at that. Oh, it's so pretty. And so I got 2 colors that I thought would coordinate. The first one that I was gravitated towards immediately is called Monet's Garden. And then the second one is called Aegean, like the Aegean Sea. And I thought that they would make a good fade together. I wish that my lighting, there we go, would cooperate with me so you can really get a good look at those 2 together. And then last night, or this morning really, I finished this and I was like, ooh, the bottom of this, it's really good for that. So let me just take a look. Oh, I have this much left over because I decided to make the sweater a little bit shorter than I originally thought. And oh my goodness, it does look so good because there's some like acidy greens right in there that pick up perfectly with this, and there's a smidge of it right there. So this 3 of these are going to become something. I haven't decided if I want to make a shawl, because that seems like a really good option, and it was something that I would wear. It's a DK weight, it would keep me warm. It's a really solid option. And like TL Yarncrafts has a lot of 3-color shawls, so that's probably what I'll lean towards. But I also thought it would be really cute to do some sort of like hexagon table runner. I have a little one that I made, you can find on Instagram, that I made these little hexagons out of scrap DK weight yarn, just colors I thought went together. And it's nice, it's kind of this diamond pattern, it's small, but that's the other option, or that's the other idea I had with this. But these are perfect together. I'm gonna store these together so I remember to use them together. And I absolutely love these. And that was from Knitty City. The other place that I went was called Brooklyn General Store, and it was a little bit bigger. It's in Brooklyn, and it had not only a lot of yarn, including some yarn that was dyed by the owner, but it also had sewing supplies, like notions, buttons, things like that. And it was delightful and wonderful. While I looked at some of the yarn that was dyed by the owner, a lot of it was a little thicker than I wanted for my stash because I didn't have a particular project for it. And as you know, if you crochet with thicker yarn, sometimes they can just look bulky if you don't know what you're using them for specifically. But I asked the lady that was working there, I was like, hey, what else do you have that's like specific to the store or that's local? And she's like, we have some of these yarns up front that are dyed specifically for us, that are unique colorways to our store. And guys, like just look at it. It's beautiful. It's dyed in Paris, which I think is fancier than I've ever gotten before, and I love it. And it's cashmere merino, so it's got 75% superwash merino, 15% cashmere, which you all know I love, and then a little bit of nylon. The yarn that I used for this is also has a little bit of cashmere to it, and it lays beautifully. And I don't know what this is going to become, but it looks like an art piece all by itself. And I love it. So it's got this beautiful yellow. Clearly I've been leaning towards oranges and yellows over the summer. But it's also got like these little bits of blue. There's a little bit of gray in here, some speckles of pink. And I just know when I cake this up that it's going to be beautiful. And I don't know what it will become yet. But it's stunning all by itself. So those are my travel yarns. My husband and I are going to be going to San Francisco here very soon, and I will also be showing you things that I have gotten from there, I am sure. So the last little bit of yarn that I want to show you is for an upcoming pattern test, because I can't say no to a good pattern test. And this is where Terrapin Fiberworks is going to come back. Her name is Lila, the person who runs the company, and she released a pattern for a crochet tank that just looks delightful and like just dressy enough, but also like it was a unique tank. I realized that I don't have a lot of crochet tanks and I need more of them. So I knew that I want to do something different and not go crazy colorful and try to stash dive. So these I had in my stash. These are from Montana Crochet. I think I've shown them to you before, and it's just a beautiful kind of blue-gray gradient. Yes, I was trying to make sure I had them in the right order. So I was like, I want to use this. That'll be really cool. Maybe I can find something on the darker end to go with this, because anything lighter than this gray is going to be hard to find in a yarn that still pulls gray and not white or off-white. So I figured it would be easier to go off this end. And so I went to my local yarn store spun and I found it. Look at it. So this is Fiberworks. I love Fiberworks. Michigan yarn dyer. And it's called Midnight. It's this beautiful black with a little bit of pulling a little blue, pulling a little gray, but it's beautiful. So the top of the tank, because it's worked from the top down, the top of the tank will be in this color and then it'll fade. And I'm very excited about that. One, because I don't have any, like I usually pull crazy colors, and this is just a gradient of gray, which means I can wear other crazy colors with it. But also I just think the construction of this tank is going to be very interesting. So you will see progress of that most likely next week, as well as another pattern test that I have signed up for but have not started yet. And that, my friends, the blinds, that, my friends, is this week's podcast. So I want to leave you with what I can't let go of, and what I can't let go of this week is that y'all had some crazy good book recommendations for me last time. Since we talked last time, since we talked about books last time, y'all recommended The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I read. It was very good. The Call Your Daughter Home, which I also read. It was good. It was also hard in a lot of ways. Like, it was a very interesting story, a little bit grittier. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is a lot more fantasy based, and there's some supernatural elements, which was good. And then the other one that y'all recommended was Giver of Stars, and that one was my favorite. It was a really good story about a traveling library in like the 30s. So I want to thank y'all for all of those wonderful book recommendations, and then tell you what I'm currently reading. So I'm currently physically reading Sunshine Girl. It is a memoir from Julianna Marguiles. If you like ER or The Good Wife, she's also been in the most recent season of The Morning Show. She's a phenomenal actor, and it's interesting to hear her story, because I didn't know anything about her story, and that her childhood, which is kind of to the point where I've gotten to now. I think she's about 15 in the story so far, or in the book so far, was very dynamic. There's a lot of changes that happened, and like how she adapted to those, and how she felt about those are very interesting. And then the other book that I'm listening to is Mythology from Stephen Fry, and it is a delight to listen to. So it's about Greek mythology, and he kind of takes you through like the first iterations all the way through like the common stories, as well as some of the like the little lesser known ones. It is a long book. I think I am like 6 hours left of it. I think it was close to 15 when I started, but it's very good. And the way that it's written, it has a lot of kind of dry humor, the way that these stories are told, as well as probably one of my favorite things that he does is that he lets you know what the etymology of some of the words that we use now are connected to these Greek gods and goddesses. So like one of the stories was talking about the high-pitched laugh of Helios and how the element helium, or the gas helium, that when we breathe in and we start to have that high-pitched voice, like, oh, I understand. And it's been really good. I've enjoyed it a lot. I like to have a couple of books going, usually at least one that I'm physically reading, especially when I'm traveling, because then I can just curl up in a coffee shop and read, maybe crochet, as well as something I can listen to while I'm driving or while I'm walking Sir Scoot, our dog. So that's what I'm currently reading. As always, if you have book suggestions for me, let me know, because y'all had some really good ones last time. And that concludes this episode of Yarncraft by Nicole. I will be on here next week, just not the week after. But as always, catch me on Instagram, Facebook, and if you like these videos, subscribe and like this video. Bye, guys.